how this client experience is evolving in a digital era accelerated by the pandemic. What are the new approaches, the new trends? What will remain? Well, we'll try to answer these questions in a few seconds with my guests. So let's go and meet them. And I'm very happy to welcome a woman today on my set, and this is Beatrice Goasglas, Vice President, Digital and Customer Experience at TAG Heuer. You joined the group in 2018, specialist in beauty, fashion, and watchmaking with a focus on strategic transformation. Welcome, Beatrice.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I'm delighted and very honored to be with you today to discuss about two of my passions, customer and digital.
That's perfect. We'll talk about that in a few seconds. And we'll move on to our next guest today. This is Chris Grainger-Herr, CEO of IWC Schaffhausen, who started in 2006 for the brand and occupied various positions for the group before becoming CEO in 2017. Good afternoon, Christophe Grainger-Herr.
Well, good afternoon, good morning. Very nice to talk to you.
Very nice to be with you as well. Our next guest today is Matt Bowling. He's a co-founder of WatchFinder, that is a leader in second-hand watches. Matt Bowling, you're a former TV journalist and producer in the UK, and you founded WatchFinder almost 20 years ago. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Welcome. Good morning, good afternoon. It's lovely to be here.
Yeah, it's very nice. You're calling us from London, right?
Just outside of London, yes.
Perfect. Thank you for being with us. Our next guest today is David Hurley, Executive VP USA Watches of Switzerland, that owns and operates watch showrooms distributing more than 30 different brands and is one of the leading retailers in the market. Good afternoon, David Hurley.
Good afternoon. How are you doing?
We're doing good. I think it's actually quite early for you since you're calling us from New York, right?
Yeah, I'm in New York, the city that never sleeps. Sleeps a little bit more these days, but yeah, great to be here.
Thank you very much for being with us. And our last guest today is Guillaume Jonglez, Retail Strategy Senior Director, EMEA at Oracle, with more than 25 years of experience in the retail, fashion, and luxury industries. You will help us put things in perspective today with your knowledge of changes and trends and their impact on the industry. Welcome, Guillaume Jonglez.
Good morning, good afternoon. Welcome, thank you.
Thank you for being with us. Okay, so we're all set. We have the guests, and I have two more persons that I have to introduce to you. Maybe you know them already if you've been with us on the former panel discussions. This is Benjamin Tesser and Pascal Rafsou. What are they doing today on the set with me? Well, they are treating your questions. That means that you can send us your questions and comments all along this panel discussion, and we will try to answer the most of them at the end of this discussion in the Q&A session. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How are you doing?
Very well, thank you.
Ready for today?
Of course.
Of course, always ready. So let's start right now. I'm going to turn to you, Beatrice Goasglas, and I would like to start with a general question. We're talking about digital era. We're talking about client experience. How does that go together? What is client experience in a digital era meaning?
I think, first of all, that digital experience is an opportunity. It's even a blessing for the brands and for the maison to be able to engage even more with the customer. That's exactly what happened for TAG Heuer. 3 years ago, I joined TAG Heuer to run the transformation, the corporate transformation of the company, focusing on different areas, including customer. Because I come, as you said, from beauty and from fashion, where customer is already at the heart of the system. It was not exactly the case for TAG Heuer at that period, because we were more B2B oriented. And that's really interesting as an example. When I arrived at TAG Heuer and I discussed about client, everybody was thinking about retailer, which is very important also, but it's completely different than final customers. So we completely start to change and to transform the company, putting the final customer at the real heart and the true heart, at an authentic part of our strategy. We do consider at TAG Heuer that it is our duty to please and to delight the customer. This is very important, First of all, digital is a new touch point for the customer. It's a way to keep in touch, and I think we have all experienced it during the pandemic. Digital was a way to continue to engage with the customer, to bring a little bit of dream, to change about the hard reality. So that's very important, and it's not because it's digital that we are losing the human part. It could even be stronger. Digital is also a new media since to engage with the customer. For instance, just to give you an example, during the pandemic, we launched a new webzine and podcast with Heuer to be able to continue to engage and to tell the story of the brand. We want people to dream, we want to tattoo them with the brand, and it's incredibly great to be able to use those new channels to engage. It is also digital build the capabilities for recognition and for personalization. We are switching from a one-to-all communication to a one-to-few with more targeting and one-to-one with real personalization, because this is exactly about luxury, how we can have a tailor-made luxury depending on the taste, the expectation, the hobbies and the interest of the customers. And finally, just last one point, I think that also digital helps us to really listen to the customer. We can now hear the customer voice, analyze it, have customer insights to be able to continuously improve our process, internal products, and everything. So in a nutshell, it's an amazing opportunity.
An amazing opportunity, and that's maybe what we have to keep in mind. And what I really keep from what you just said is also engaging more with the customers, final or in the retailer session, but engaging more. I would like to see with you, Christophe Grainger-Herr, do you share this vision? Do you have that point of view as well at IWC Schaffhausen?
Well, for sure. I think it was very well put, and thank you for the point. I think I'd like to remind ourselves as well that the only reason all of us here on the panel have jobs is that we manage to find people who fall in love with our products, our brands, and ultimately spend their disposable income on buying mechanical watches. And I think this is really the starting point. I totally agree. I think as a luxury brand, you're representing values that are based on character, that are based on personalities. And ultimately, at a purchase like a mechanical watch, at some point, clients want to feel what that personality is, what are the values that the brand stands for. And this needs to be expressed, both in terms of personal relationships and also the physical, tangible, and directly immersive atmosphere. And this is really where it becomes very interesting when you think about digital innovation, because yes, as was just explained, you have many more channels and many more options to engage with clients. But at the same time, you have to be able to, at some point, link this into something physical, tangible, and personal to really make that connection between client and brand. And I think this is what we've seen throughout the expansion of the digital channels, that actually, from web sales, there was a very strong phone component that I'm sure Matt from WatchFinder can relate to very well, whether that's all the video chat and video being the key technology that's come through in the pandemic. And today, even our watchmakers wearing our patented AR cyber loops and being able to stream the image they're seeing in the watch movement to any client's end device. And all of those things reinforce the fact that even in the age of a broadly and mostly digital interaction between brands and clients in a pandemic, that personal element is so important. And I think that's why going forward, we will see all of those innovations come together with the essentials of expressing a relationship physically in space and through personal connections to really carry that customer experience forward.
Yeah, personal connection. I think this is really the key word, and we don't lose the personal connection because of digital era. It's actually the opposite. And I would like to see Matt Bowling, what you're thinking about that, but I would think you agree.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have a slightly, my perspective on this is slightly different, because when we set the business up 20 years ago, all we had was a website. So we kind of come from a digital background, and we've introduced physical retail stores to our business, and they add tremendous value. But we've never had a traditional kind of a boundary between online and offline, and I think that where that comes from is our understanding of customers, and customers are different, and I think you've got some people. So me, for example, when I'm engaging with a brand, I'm quite happy to do it without having a conversation. I'll just go online, I'll buy something, and but then on the other end of the scale, you've got people, and as you say, Chris, you've got people who really want that physical interaction, and from our perspective, we are just trying to let the customer decide how they want to deal with us. So it might be online, it might be by phone, it might be in store. You know, it really, I don't want us to dictate how they engage with us, but we just need to make sure that when they do engage with us, that the experience that they have is consistent and ideally it exceeds their expectations. So like I kind of, you know, coming from that online to offline direction with WatchFinder, it's a really interesting topic, but for me, we've kind of been doing it forever. So it's not a part of our actual strategy. It's just the way that our business works, that we're flexible as much as we can be.
Thank you very much for sharing, Matt Bowling, but it's true that you actually started the other way around, so you have maybe, you're a bit ahead with your experience if we compared it to the other brand today here with us.
Well, I mean, it's possible that, yeah, but we are you know, there are still lots and lots of things that we have to learn, and you know, we're just in a different situation, you know, and it's not, I don't think it's really a matter of doing it better. There are definitely companies that can teach WatchFinder a great deal about how to better connect. You know, coming back to your earlier point, that's what it's all about. It's about building that connection with a customer and then listening to them when they tell you that they want to deal with you in a different way. And one other point that I would make is that I think any engagement strategy, like after sales, has to be a part of it, because again, you can put as much investment as you like into actually acquiring that customer, but if you're not looking after them after the purchase in the way that they want you to, then, you know, because again, from WatchFinder's perspective, however that engagement happens, we're trying to build loyalty and advocacy. And if you're not looking at the entire gamut of experience and connection with that client, like if you're acquiring them with fantastic new technology, but then actually their after sales experience is not great, you're not going to retain that business. So again, it needs a holistic approach, and it's not just about that initial acquisition.
David Hurley, do you agree with this global approach, experience approach, in fact, that means knowing your client, whether you are in a digital or physical way?
Yeah, of course. I mean, look, the reality is, of course, this is something that has accelerated in the last year, but this was coming anyway. We've been in Watches of Switzerland. We've been investing in digital more and more for the last 4 or 5 years. And you know, online sales was already a material part of our business, and it's only accelerated. But you know, as a lot of the other panelists have already spoke about, it's that personalization part that makes the difference. Whether it's, you know, and it's the consumer that ultimately decides how they want to interact. They've already been, for the last 4 or 5 years, that interaction has started online, and maybe the purchase is in store, or it's click and collect, or they just want to order it directly to the house. We've got a virtual boutique where we've taken actual store teams, and they're now dedicated to supporting our online interaction, so we can provide that personal service. So I think this is, you know, I think it's connecting all of those dots between online and offline. There's still, everybody has a lot to do and learn, and in terms of how we can perfect that.
So actually, we're really talking about an ecosystem. What do you say, Guillaume Jonglez?
Yeah, exactly. In fact, what we see that we are in a much more complex world and retail economy and luxury economy than before, because we have many touch points, we have many devices, we have many needs and expectations based on every person. So it means that, in fact, we have to deal with this complexity, and technology can help to simplify this, and at least to make the experience for the customer totally seamless. Even if it's a huge work in the background, as a customer, I don't want to see that. I just want to have a consistent, as it was said, experience with the brand, whatever the channel, whatever the topic also. Could be just brand information, could be talking to an executive, could be looking at products, could be living some experience. So it's really about how do I use the technology always at the benefit of the customer experience. And data is very important.
We're actually really on a multi-level.
And that's why with new tech, yeah, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
And that's why data is very important, because with technology, we can collect a lot of data that we were unable to collect before just with stores. And so we can personalize much more. We can be very close to the expectations and the need of the customers. So it's a good, very good level of satisfaction, I would say.
So actually, the complication could be that you have to interact with all these different levels and you have to bring all this data together and do something good about it, right?
Yeah, exactly. And also, it leads to what we define as the new customer satisfaction equation. Before, customers were looking for a good product and the right price, not always the smallest price or the lowest price, but the right price. And with this complexity, now the equation is more about what benefits will I gain from interacting with a brand. It could be a functional benefit. I have a watch and it can give me the hour. It can be an emotional benefit when I interact with the brand. When I go in a store and I meet a sales associate, I will have an intimate relationship. He will become my personal shopper, in fact. Or it can be also a societal benefit I'm expecting from the brand, because we know that sustainability is becoming very important for everybody. So I will choose the brand I will interact with based on all these benefits I will get. Then we have the quality always, but it's not only the quality of the product, it's also the quality of the relationship, the quality of the stores, the quality of the navigation on the website or on the apps. It's the quality of the call center, if any, when I have a request or a claim. It's the quality of the supply chain, the delivery. If I want to be delivered at home or if I want some click and collect, everything has to be perfect, in fact. Yes. And on the other side of the equation, we've got the price. Price is not only the price, it's also, can you provide me with new ways of purchasing? So it's pre-owned watches. It could be subscriptions, could be a rental, could be any new ways to consume, in fact. And then we have the effort. What effort do I need to make to interact, to buy, to discuss with a brand? And then there is the risk I could perceive by interacting with a brand, especially during the COVID situation. If I go to a store, is there any risk for my health? If I buy a watch online, is it the right one for me? As you said, Matt, is it the right one for me? Because I don't like any model. It's very specific. So it's very complex, and that's why tech can help.
Complex, and we understand it is a global experience that the customer want to live. I would like to go now a bit deeper into the initiatives you're working on. So let's move to you, Chris Grainger-Herr. What are you working on at IWC Schaffhausen?
Well, thank you. That's an excellent question. We are constantly evolving the way that we offer services to our clients. One of the key measures here really was, and recently, our introduction of our new flagship boutique range of completely digitally integrated store experience, where the first store is in Zurich. And what we've gone for there is really trialing a lot of these functions that we've just spoken about and changing the standard classic shop experience to something which really becomes immersive. It becomes much more a story that our clients can physically and digitally walk into. And maybe one of the key points this year is that while in the past, you used to have to physically go to a store to experience that, we've augmented and extended that to really cover a lot of different, from AR to VR service on the website, now extending into our app we've just launched 2 days ago, and really creating an entire universe where clients can connect with the brands on many more levels. There's a really important broadcasting element now that goes from the podcast world that's already been mentioned to everything that is happening on Clubhouse, that gives us really multiple platforms to directly communicate with our clients and fans all around the world, and extending the reach of what used to be traditionally a shop much, much further. They become a hub of this connected omni-channel environment, but they also become a real immersive touch point where I can feel the brand, I can experience relationships with the people behind the brand, and I can connect to manufacturing, to technology, to innovation in a way that wasn't possible before. And I think with all of the different ecosystems we have around the world, from Chinese e-commerce to what we have in Europe and the US, there are many, many technological opportunities now to really increase both the reach and the quality of that engagement fundamentally. And I think what you touched on earlier and what Beatrice touched on earlier is very, very true. When we think about the essential meaning of luxury, historically, it was an individually crafted object or piece of art that was commissioned often by an individual client. And the outcome was always that interplay in a one-on-one relationship between a creator and a briefing and functional and aesthetic requirement by a client. And in this sort of mass rollout of luxury in the 1980s and 90s, that was lost to a certain extent. And I do believe that especially the technology we've been ramping up over the last 10 years really allows us to get back to that individual conversation I can have today on video and audio with any client in the world at any moment in time on any device, ultimately making that process of discovering, commissioning, buying and enjoying luxury a lot more personal again and a lot more true to the DNA of what luxury actually stands for.
Christophe Grainger-Herr, we imagine that all the initiatives you've been talking about, they were already on the way, but how has the pandemic accelerated all this?
It's been a massive acceleration. You know, we literally, I think we've moved several years in terms of innovation, simply being put into the situation that partially we had to, and partially we saw sudden opportunity everywhere. And I think all of the things that we used to do in physical event format, in live marketing, so many of these things have changed to much, much extended digital and especially video formats very quickly, from virtual boutiques that, you know, David mentioned as well for Watches Switzerland that we've done with full VR experiences, to virtual events, to video selling and video after sales with the AR loop I mentioned. And all of this innovation came very, very rapidly. And what we found, and that was very interesting from a team dynamic perspective as well, that this entire changing of the status quo that was, you know, in a sense forced upon us by the external situation, really reset the teams to find new ways to engage with our clients, and that at an incredible pace. So whilst there was a lot of disruption and hardship for everyone last year, and of course my heart goes out to everybody who's been affected by COVID-19, at the same time we felt that this brought a burst of creativity and innovation to our business, which I thought was really exciting on that front.
A burst of creativity. That's really nice, Beatrice Goasglas. Is it what happened at Heuer as well?
Yes, exactly. And we all talked about omnichannel because it's true that today we have to deal with the final customer, with boutiques, with retailers, with offline, with online. So that's very important also to bring one holistic customer experience. So that's exactly what we tried also to do at Heuer, is to create a new customer culture in the house that is holistic, with customer promise, with some pillars, and then to be able to gather, as you said also, a single customer view, to be able to get all the data from everywhere to, you know, really know the customer, and offering some new clienteling services to be able to offer one by one. And how we have to bring creativity like that, I think it's very strong because we are brands, and with brands we have a soul, we have a very strong DNA, we have values, and it's our duty to bring them to life with our final customers. And that's exactly what we are trying to do, offering new kind of services, because we can all offer delivery, conciergerie, but it's not really innovative, and we want to be distinctive and different on that.
What is innovative then? Yeah. Tell us.
Just an example for Heuer, because Heuer, you know, we are a very strong brand. We are a thrilling brand. Our values, it's about sports, vibrant, lively. So that was very important for us, for our customer, not only to bring new services, but to bring experiences, because this is exactly what will be the difference. So for instance, we are inviting customers with few customers, because the idea is really to get to personalization and contextualization depending on the hobbies. So we invite customers to the Grand Prix de Monaco, for instance, and the idea is not just to be on the stage, is to be in the car with the pilots, you know, and to have a real driving experience.
A real global experience again.
Exactly, and the idea is really to feel that, you know, to thrill with the experience that we can offer to the customer. It's a money can't buy, because you can be the richest guy on the world. If you do not have access to that, you won't be able to have it. And that's
actually live things.
Exactly, live things, thrillings, and experiencing the brand, you know. And it's not only about wearing a product. We want our product to embody our values. And when you offer those kind of experiences, it won't be on your watch. The watch will remind you what you lived. It will empower you to feel stronger, to feel confident. You know,
we can feel the passion.
No, but it's very interesting, because when you discuss with the customer, it changed completely the relation forever. And it's very good for loyalty, but also for advocacy. And I think that's really what is luxury about, is that touch of magic.
It's very interesting to have the point of view of brands, but I would like to go also with David Hurley. Since you are representing retailers, how is it that you are experiencing this point of view? What are the initiatives you had been working on?
Well, during this time period as well, we already had a significant online business. We were already investing heavily in online, and it was also driving a significant amount of sales within our stores. We launched a exclusive Grand Seiko Toge watch, Watches of Switzerland Special Edition in May of last year. We had, we put a fun element to it. We had an Instagram AR filter where you could, wear the watch and try the watch on your wrist. And it was fun, and people were trying it on their wrist. They were trying, we were getting images of it going around the world with people trying it on their legs, etc. That technology is not perfected as of yet, but it helped make the watch a huge success. Having said that, all of the digital technology that we're using today is going to change, and it's accelerating at a pace all the time. Mm-hmm. That personal experience, that individual experience, whether it's with a virtual boutique where you've got our store teams that are behind that and supporting it. A lot of our stores in the US have been open since June of last year. All of our stores in the US are open at the moment, and people are delighted to get back in to the stores itself and meet the people that they have the relationships with. So it's a combination of making sure you have that personal relationship, because the technology is going to just continue to change.
And as a retailer, do you feel the clients' requests or demands for this experience, global experiencing?
Yes, I mean, of course, and an awful lot of what's been done in the last year, even with Watches and Wonders going virtual last year, all of the product releases meant that, and even the fact that the product releases were cadenced throughout the year meant that as a retailer, we always had something to speak to our clients about. And so we see that, but we also see that nothing beats seeing the product physically in person. And we obviously see the trends around the world. It's most of the successful releases that were done last year were in store effectively immediately. In Soho in New York at the moment, we're delighted that we're able to show some of our clients the latest releases from IWC and Tag Heuer, the same product that's been represented at Watch and Wonders. Our clients can come in and physically see, and that's fantastic because we've got to have that element as well. I think we've all got Zoom fatigue at this stage. And I know there's still, there are parts of the world that are still locked down. The UK is going to be opening up on Monday, so Matt's stores are going to be opening. Our Watches of Switzerland stores are going to be opening. We have thousands of appointments already set up for our Watches of Switzerland clients to come in and meet people on Monday. And all the teams are looking forward to getting back and just having that personal interaction. I think there's going to be, over the next year as hopefully things open up, people are going to want to get out, see other people, socialize. We're sick of being locked down. So, the digital element, the digital element was there, and it continues to become a bigger and bigger part of everything that we do. But we want to link it to the physical experiences.
Right. And we can hear this will of the physical. The physical is not dead. What would you say, Matt Bowling from WatchFinder? Do you agree with this point of view?
I mean, absolutely. Look, I just think for some people, it's not important to have a physical store, but for some people, it is important. And again, so the way that like a store provides much more than just an opportunity for somebody to come in and buy something. Like it's a vehicle through which you can communicate with your clients. They can physically interact with the brand. They can get a sense of your values, talk to your team, just kind of have a conversation. And as everybody has said, that act of physically trying on a watch, for some people, it's very important. And look, for some people, it really isn't. And for some people, they'll buy it, and if they don't like it, they'll return it. So again, from my perspective, what you want to do is, however the customer wants to interact with you, you just got to make it as friction-free as possible, as painless as possible, and if you can, make it an enjoyable experience. So, and as, it could be that over the years, I'm nearly 50 years old. If you are, for people who are 30 years old, all they've ever known is online. So, I think it's logical that those people are going to be less attached to stores. But again, it's not about what I think. It's about what the customers think. So the most important thing that we need to keep doing is having that conversation with the customer, listening carefully to what they're telling us, and then doing our best to deliver it. So I absolutely, the only people that are going to tell me that the stores aren't relevant are clients. It's not going to be a decision that comes from us.
Actually, what we were saying from the beginning was knowing your client, knowing what they want and who they are. This is the key. So how would you say, what would be the new role of a boutique? And I'm asking this question to you, Mr. Jonglez. What do you think? It's
it
a
will have
tough one, I
several
agree.
roles, in fact. It will still exist. It will still exist for sure, because as it was said by Chris, David, Matt, and Beatrice, people want to go to store. Some don't want to go to store. The idea will be to bring the best of the digital in-store when it's really useful for two things, for the brand and for the customer. And when you look at the brand, it could be about simplifying the operations in store. We see actually a lot of retailers and luxury brands investing in technology for their sales associate, what we call the augmented associates, where he's got a tablet, a mobile, with all the information he needs about the customers, but also about the product availability. And then he can say, I can do watch because it's somewhere else. I will bring it to you in your house, wherever you want, in fact. So it's about how to ease the business, the first one. And then it will be about, I want to see somebody. I want to feel the watch. I want to wear it on my wrist. I want to see the weight, the shape, everything. So it will really depend on the customer, but at least it will totally merge with the digital. And it's about what is the purpose of digital. We are in a period with the COVID of test and learn, in fact.
Right.
We are trying a lot of things, AR, VR, video streamings, influencers, social media, whatever. But at some points, we will have to decide, and it's personal to each brand, in fact. What is the use of the technology for me and my customers? For example, I've been working for Lacoste on redesigning stores, the flagships. And it was decided not to put a lot of digital because it was not required by the customer. They prefer to learn about the brand. They prefer to learn about René Lacoste history. What is this man? What is the personality of the man? Why is such a success with the polo shirts? On the other side, you've got brands like Louis Vuitton who decided to provide tablets to the sales associate to be closer to the customer and improve the customer experience in store. So it really depends on the brand.
Yeah, there's actually not one rule for everybody, but everybody has to find its own rule. What do you think about the phygital concept? Is it the concept of the future then? Beatrice.
Yeah, I think, as you said, it's interesting to mix both. I think that offline will still be very important because in the store, it's not only about trying a product. We can bring a lot more. As we said, we want to bring the brand to life, and the role as a sales associate, it's not only about discovering product. We can bring phygital to bring into the store the boutiques, the heritage, the universe, the savoir-faire, because we have plenty of watchmakers. It's so interesting when you have some atelier in the store, when a watchmaker comes to explain what is a tourbillon, what is this kind of thing. And I think that's why phygital could be very interesting. We talked about augmented reality. Why not thinking about having an application, but a useful innovation? You can scan your watch, you have the movement, you can see what is inside your watch, and then you're bringing really something useful for you, for knowing the product, for discovering what's inside. And that's why I think it could be very interesting, finding the good balance with who is the brand.
The balance, I think it's
Exactly.
the key word. And I would like to ask the question to Christophe Grainger-Herr. Do you believe in phygital? What do you have your eyes on for the future?
Well, look, I think we can take this conversation as a base to do something very concrete and phygital for our customers. I loved the challenge that David put out there with his Watches of Switzerland store in Soho, that he has the novelties of both TAG Heuer and IWC in store. Yes, we may be zoomed out, but what we should be doing is a virtual event. Beatrice and I go head to head with your best clients, David. Then we select one client each. As you know, we're partners of Mercedes-AMG Petronas. We both take one client each to the Monaco GP, when we have the next one physically. And there we pitch a driving experience of Max Verstappen with Tag Heuer against Lewis Hamilton with IWC, and we see how that comes
That's
out.
amazing what happens at Watches and Wonders Salon. I mean, we are creating things actually right now.
It would be a multi-touch point experience. We could create storytelling, connect with the brand like never before, and ultimately we see who's making the better chronograph. So that's my Fijital challenge out to you, and I would love to
Point
make that
taken.
happen.
I like that. I like that.
taken.
David Hurley, want you to react, I think.
As long as I get the invite as well, I'm delighted to go. No, of course, and that is it. It is linking all of that together. It's looking like, again, Matt mentioned it as well. The future, the consumer will decide what the future is, and we'll react to it and make sure that we're able to deal with it. An awful lot of the interaction that our clients have today, or our salespeople have with our clients, is via WhatsApp and iMessages, and there's an incredible amount of purchases that are done through that. Our sales team sending an image of a watch to the client, or the client sending an image of a watch back to the salesperson, and they just say, yeah, I'll take it. All of us are probably with our friends part of WhatsApp groups or iMessage groups, and that's how a lot of the next generation are interacting. And in 3-4 years, it'll be something else. I think and so it'll be those links that are going to be incredibly important. People have been talking about retail is dead or dying, and the boutique is dying for so many years.
Right.
It isn't. It's just changing, and our adjacencies are changing. You go and meet a developer in the past, and they talk about, well, I've got a department store that does X million, or I've got this big box that does X million, and now they're saying I've got a Tesla store or a Lululemon. So our adjacencies the stores are changing. So we firmly believe in the link between both. We've opened up 9 stores in the US since this has all started, and we're looking to open up more over the next couple of years. And even when we open up on Monday in the UK, we've got 6 or 7 new stores that are opening at the same time.
Guillaume, Jonglez, I saw you nodding. What do you believe in for the future?
No, I think that David is totally right. It will depend on the customer, but what will be important is that, in fact, every media a brand will use, let's say touch points, will be a store. In fact, as you said, we can sell on WhatsApp, we can sell on Instagram, on Pinterest, with some partners, with WeChat and so on. So it will be very important to be present on all channels to give the choice to the customer, because as Matt said, it is important, it's the customer choice. And in fact, what we see also is that customers are not going to shop anymore. They are continuously shopping. Whatever the moment in their day and life, it's 24/7. And that's why tech and digital is very important, because it brings new options to the customer to satisfy his needs.
Right. I will now turn myself to Matt Bowling, because this time I saw you nodding, so I want to have your point of view.
Yeah, look, I think I would agree with that completely. For me, the future is about, from a business perspective, it's about personalization, and again, that is driven by a desire to get closer to your customer, to deliver, so that a customer goes to the website and sees exactly what it is that they're interested in, and our ability to kind of improve our personalization will help build advocacy and loyalty, and these are the 2 key values that we're trying to create. So from a customer's perspective, I don't think anything will change, because customers still love a good experience, and again, if you are able to deliver that frictionless, fantastic client experience today, then you're going to retain your clients. So again, customer expectations, I think, will be constant, but a retailer's ability to actually deliver what the customer is looking for will improve. And there are these fantastic technological advancements that we've heard about today. Like, just listening, sitting here as a consumer, like, these ideas are just, I love those ideas. And I think as a consumer, we are going to we're going to raise our requirements of retailers, and we are not going to put up with, we're not going to put up with poor service, because again, it's this, we move towards a situation where there's perfect knowledge, where it's very easy for me to find out whether someone can look after me well or not. So I just think retailers are going to have to work harder to retain those customers, but when they do, I think that's where they see the value.
What we can add, Matt Bowling, at WatchFinder, you actually created a very seamless experience for your clients, since you have clients coming in to sell the watches, and then you have clients coming from the other side to buy these watches. And this is very particular to your firm.
Yeah, again, but these are things that we've been doing for 20 years. So, when I think about them as innovations, it's, what we're trying to do is make it easy. And again, buying watches is something that with the pandemic, a consequence is that stores have closed, and stores are an important way that people sell watches to us. So, and it's a very low-tech solution, but we've introduced, we had home collection in the business on a very small scale, but we've now rolled it everywhere, and it's not a kind of high-tech solution, but for the customer, it means they don't need to leave their house, which again, as Chris has said, this environment that we faced over the last 12 months, sometimes it's only when you're challenged that you really understand what you're capable of, and I think that this has been a real improvement in our business, because it's made it easier for customers. And so I think it's for us, it's not high tech, but it's very effective.
That's actually a very important key point, making things easy for the consumers. That might be maybe the word of the end word. Do you agree, Beatrice Goasglas?
Yes, completely. And to do that, I think it's important to follow also the customer journey, because the needs and the expectation are not the same when it's discovery, when it's about purchasing, when it's about usage of the watch. So that's also what digital helps us to do. It's to really support the customer with what he needs at that exact moment, and to engage and to give him the message that he just wants to have at that specific moment.
So what we really understand is that this digital era is actually a challenge and a huge opportunity at the same time. We are already at the end of this panel discussion. I know that it goes very fast and that we would like to talk a lot more about many different topics, but it's not totally the end. We have now the Q&A session. And for this part, I will call now Pascal Ravsou to come and join us and bring us some comments, some questions. What did you get? And what were the topics that made reacting the audience?
Yes, first of all, I think people love the idea of a common experience between IWC and TAG. So that's the great thing with these discussions. We're trying to push the boundaries, and now I think people need to see that happen.
Sure. We will get in touch.
Yeah, and we will take a look at what's going on.
Amazing.
Okay, then as a general comment, I had a couple of times, what is needed is a true seamless experience for the customer. Mm-hmm. Both digital and phygital have to be consistent, otherwise it doesn't work. So there is also a focus on training the staff, be it in the boutique or with the online interactions, so that it can work and be consistent for them. That's more or less the comments we had. We had a comment from Anita in India saying that we haven't spoke a lot about that, but the demand for second-hand watches is double-digit growing. And my question would be maybe, is it consistent also across the markets? Do the brands see that as a trend?
Should we go to Matt Bowling and then afterwards to you, Chris Grainger-Herr, to have both points of view?
From my perspective, I think it's a phenomenal area of growth in the watch industry. And although WatchFinder, we've been operating it for 20 years, it's still, it's still evolving. And again, the thing, what's always been our aim when we set the business up was to deliver an experience that is in parallel with the experience that you get when you're buying a new watch, and that's something that's still, it is still improving. Again, we work very hard, and lots of people work very hard, so that as the customer experience improves, that will draw more people into the market, and I think that a market that's already growing quickly will accelerate when you think about the number of watches that have been sold as new in the market for the last 10 years, there is no reason that, I mean, it's a huge amount of liquidity that's out there. And really, if you don't have, if there isn't a properly functioning pre-owned market, that liquidity can't be unlocked. So I think I don't actually think that the new market can work as efficiently as it could do without a very a well-executed pre-owned market. I think it's very important that the two markets connect.
Christophe Grainger-Herr, can we have the point of view of a brand on this question?
Yeah, totally agree. And obviously, we work very closely with Matt and the team at WatchFinder. The point is that mechanical watches are made eternally, basically forever. They're created as a product without an inbuilt obsolescence, a product that can be passed on, gifted, resold, inherited, and all the rest of it. And I think that creating an experience only by creating the initial magic and acquisition for the first-time buyer, and then sort of leaving the next purchases to random transactional platforms cannot be in the interest of anybody, neither of clients and of brands. And that's why we've seen that strong interest increasing in this kind of pre-owned client experience, where I have a product that is 100% verified and authenticated, that is officially serviced and warranted and comes with the same quality of transaction as a new watch purchase. And I think many of us over the last year have started to question the way we consume, what we buy. And I think we've realized that many of the non-essential purchases that go beyond maybe toilet paper as a practical COVID example are much more than just about where can I get it from and what is the cheapest price. I want to connect emotions to the purchase experience. Right. I want to have a memory, and I want to have something that lasts. And I think making sure that the pre-owned watch purchase experience is on par and at the level of what you experience when you first connect to the brand or product is very much what Matt and his team, what David is working on, and what we also are working on in partnership with retailers and people like WatchFinder to really bring that to a fantastic level.
Beatrice Goasglas, at Heuer, do you also have the same kind of feeling?
Yes, we do see it as a real interesting trend. We did not, to be completely honest, address it right now because we were more in repositioning the brand, working on desirability, but we have secondhand for sure on our radar. It's true because we also have, it's a way also to testify about our heritage. We have incredible collection from the past that could come back to life, with those kind of secondhand. So we will address it in the near future for sure because it's an amazing opportunity. It's flying. So we will address it for sure soon. Stay tuned.
Talk about it soon again, huh?
Exactly.
Pascal,
I think David wanted to react also to this subject.
Yes,
yeah,
David.
I mean, we really believe in this area. I mean, whether it's vintage watches or kind of the traditional pre-owned, we acquired a business called Analog Shift in September last year. We'd already been working with them in some of our stores in the US. They're one of the most credible groups when it comes to vintage watches, and we're going from there into pre-owned. And again, you want to offer that same level of luxury, whether it's vintage or pre-owned, and it also allows you to tell great stories about the product itself. We have vintage Omegas in our stores that were purchased in US Army and Navy stores in the 60s. We have watches in our New York store that were purchased in our UK stores in the 1980s. So it just allows you to tell other stories. And as Christopher said, everything that we use, including all of the technology that we're using, has an inbuilt redundancy in it. And that's one of the wonderful things about the watch business, and it's going to become more and more important for the younger generations. They want to know about sustainability, and the fact that all of the watches that we're wearing, and I'm wearing a watch I purchased from Analog Shift, will live on forever as long as they're properly maintained, etc. And there's something wonderful about that.
It's a beautiful part of it. I would agree. This is telling stories with watches. It's an amazing part. Yes,
definitely agree with David. One of my vintage watches was sold to Analog Shift and was in showroom in his Soho store. So yeah, it's definitely, I think, a cycle.
Right.
Another question we have, it's more on online tools, and particularly for social media channels. That creates the impression that we have a 24/7 availability. Right. So how, a question for the brands and also for the retailers, how can you manage that? How can you tackle with these expectations?
Beatrice, do you want to answer?
Yeah, and it's definitely true. Huh? Social media, it's about 24 hours. We have to follow the sun, and that's exactly what we are doing today. We have some moderation that with 24 hours alive.
Really?
Yeah, completely, because we need to. When you have a customer really happy or a detractor, we really have to get him, to get an
right
answer
away.
Right away. So it's very important for us to have it, to continue to engage with our final customer on all social media, because we have Instagram, but we also have, Facebook, Twitter, we have Pinterest, we have Line in Japan. So it's very important to be everywhere, and to also, it's not only about answering the customer. I think it's about resonating the voice. It's if we want to have continuous improvement, it's very important to make it resonate internally. So we are also taking all the feedbacks, we are noting it, and we have meetings also to share what the customer is thinking about. And we are also launching e-reputation, a new study based on social media also, to be able to understand what the customer thinks, what the customer wants, because it's really rich. All the information that you have, we all have a great community, and it's exactly the same for IWC. I really follow the account, and it's a new way of expression for the brand. So it's very important to be there and to stay tuned on the social. So moderation help us with an external agency to follow the sun, because it's not an easy one.
Actually, at IWC, how are you doing? How are you dealing with this? I think we have a sound problem. Okay, we just didn't hear the beginning of your answer, Christophe Grainger-Herr.
Yeah, sorry about that. No, I'm just saying, for us, it's absolutely true. We also entered an age where our clients clearly, rightfully, do not care whether there may be a bank holiday in Switzerland or it's maybe 7 p.m. and people have gone home. And we had these situations in the beginning where we figured out that maybe we need to improve our call center coverage on a Friday evening, and I'm trying to liaise with the client about a topic, and turns out there's nobody available at the warehouse and so on. Clearly, this has, as Beatrice described, very quickly moved to a 24/7 hour operation. It is true for social media, it's true across the time zones, but especially also when you think about the spontaneous interaction that we're experiencing on Clubhouse. This, even for my family, was an adjustment in the beginning, that now obviously I get pinged into a conversation maybe at 11 o'clock at night or maybe at 7 in the morning that you cannot plan and you cannot schedule. So it's a different demand on the way we communicate today, and it's a reality that people are looking for feedback, and they are not going to wait till Monday morning 9 a.m. So that is clearly the reality we are dealing with today.
Oh, and what is the point of view of the retailers? Can we have yours, David Hurley?
Other panelists have said, the reality is that with the amount of social media, I'm sure we're all getting nervous because none of us have picked up our phone in the last hour to check our Pinterest or Twitter or TikTok accounts, etc. And with that as well, we've got to be able to react to our consumers. But you've also got to, of course, my 17-year-old daughter is keeping me up to speed with all the latest digital technology, Christopher. So, but the other reality as well is that, everybody's got a shorter attention span than they used to. So that ability to have almost see now, buy now, you launch the product and it's available for sale immediately. If it's not, and that wasn't always the case traditionally with the watch brands, you can lose that momentum. And we've seen even over the last year, the most successful watch releases have been those that, it was launched and it was online or physically in store that same day. And that's why we're really grateful for, some of the work that our brand partners like TAG and IWC are doing to get that product into our stores or online availability effectively immediately.
We have time maybe for last comments or questions.
Yes. We're back to Fijital. I have a question for Magnus. Watches are physical object. It has weight, density, surface structures, etc. How can you bridge the disconnect between virtual and physical?
Well, that's a tough one. Let's go see at Mud Bowling. What does it think?
You can't. I mean, I really think that there is with everything that I have seen, and I do not profess to have seen everything, there is a line, and you just cannot can't replicate a physical experience with an electronic experience. So, I think that that some of the innovations that are happening are remarkable and fascinating. But if you are a person who wants to try on a watch before you buy it, again, that's what you want to do. So I don't even see why. At the moment, I don't think customers need that physical experience to be replaced, because there is an opportunity for them to have a physical experience, because they can go to a store and they can try a watch on. So, in short, I don't think that there is a way to replicate that physical experience.
Just a connex question about augmented reality and virtual reality. Does this really bring a real plus, or is it actually just some things that actually you can't replicate? But
that's just for fun.
Yeah, what's your experiences in the last few years?
Who wants to answer? Okay, IWC Schaffhausen, we're listening to you.
It's a good point, because we literally just launched our app, which has a full AR try-on function for the new Pilot's watches. But for us, this is an engagement tool. I agree with Matt. I'm not expecting people to substitute a physical experience, not at all. But what it does do, and I think we heard that earlier from David as well, that people start interacting with the product. They start trying it on their dog's legs and wrists and so on. And it's a social media conversation about size and proportion, all the rest of it. But, we are in the lucky position that our industry's products are quite small and quite mobile and can be easily kept in store somewhere and being shipped to somebody. So we don't have the problem of the car industry, for example, that you could never actually, apart from maybe a car dealership in Florida, make all of those variations available to customers. We can do that in a store. And I think physically that's what people are looking for. I'm a trained architect and designer, so I was used to a world where I could visualize everything via rendering and have a good degree of control. Watches are very different. It lives off the physical feeling on the skin. It's all about the light hitting the material, the way you feel about the watch, the way it feels on the skin. And that is indeed something that neither should we nor can we easily replace that by anything digital. But it's the complementary nature of all those engagement channels that ultimately drives the interest, ultimately drives the interaction, starts a conversation, builds a relationship, and brings people joy. And that's what it's all about.
Thank you very much. I would like to turn myself to Guillaume Jonglez, maybe for the conclusion, because we're already at the end. Can you summarize in a few words what we've heard during this panel discussion? What are the main points that we should remember?
Yeah, maybe I will illustrate that with a partnership we have just launched with Red Bull, to come back to Formula One. We are working with Red Bull to analyze the data with two objectives. The first one is to give the right insight to the teams and the driver to improve the car performance. So it's really what we could say about the operations and the business of a retailer or a luxury brand. And on the other side, we will provide insight and new experiences for the fans of Red Bull and Verstappen. So I think it's very interesting to see that technology is covering the company challenges, the customer expectations. To do that, you need data, and you need a consistent and seamless experience, whatever the touch points. And you have to suppress the complexity for the customer.
Seamless experience, and we will conclude with this word. And now this is my time to thank you all for being with us today. I would like to start with you, Beatrice Goasglas. I would like to thank David Hurley, Chris Grainger-Herr, Matt Bowling, and Guillaume Jonglez for sharing their points of view today and their ideas on the future of the client experience. Thank you very much to you, Pascal, and to you, Benjamin, for bringing us the questions, your concerns. And well, thank you for watching us today for this panel discussion. Of course, we'll meet again tomorrow at the same time, same place, 12:15 p.m. We will be talking about innovation, so be sure to tune in, and I see you tomorrow. Have a great afternoon. Bye-bye.
Thank you.